Welcome to Data Discovery with York University Libraries. You are watching Module 1, Introduction to Data and Statistics. In this module, you will learn to understand when and why to use data and statistics, to differentiate between data and statistics, to classify different types of data, and to describe different methods of data collection. So why do we use data and statistics in research? We can use data and statistics to answer a factual question. It can also be used to tell a story in the form of a chart, graph, map, or data visualization, or to add clarity to a challenging or complex topic. You can use data and statistics to explore relationships between two or more concepts or ideas, or for discovering patterns in information. You can use data algorithms to automate a process so that you can process more data. Data and statistics can also be used to make a case for a decision, or for critiquing an experiment or theory. Data and statistics are powerful types of information that can be used in a myriad of ways. Let us first provide some definitions on what we mean by data, statistics, aggregate data, and microdata. In this presentation, we are referring to data as a collection of facts, such as numbers, words, measurements, and/or observations. Most data we interact with in the 21st century are organized into numeric files created for the purpose of analysis and are machine readable. Keep in mind that data can be found in print documents as well. Data can include geographic information, which can help our understanding of spatial patterns, especially when it's mapped. Lastly, data can include temporal information, which can be used to determine temporal patterns. Statistics, on the other hand, are a type of information obtained through mathematical operations on data. Published statistics are processed data sets, or data that has been analyzed in some way. Statistics are used to support arguments or positions in studies, reports, and research articles. Many people will use the terms data and statistics interchangeably because the definitions are so similar. Microdata are unsummarized data, or raw data. An example of microdata that we interact with daily is weather data. Each record in a microdata set represents a unit. In the case of weather data, it is a weather station. In the social sciences and health sciences contexts, the unit is usually a person, but it can be a business, institution, or a household. Microdata provides information about the characteristics of the unit, such as the gender, age, income, and level of education of an individual. Aggregate data, on the other hand, is created by combining unit-level data. Unit-level data are collected and combined from multiple units to create a statistical table that makes inferences about the population. Aggregated data provides high-level information about the population being studied, such as after-tax income of 25 to 34-year-olds in Toronto. Now, let us focus a little more on microdata. Large microdata files are produced by many governmental agencies, and the largest government agency in Canada that produces microdata is Statistics Canada. In the context of Statistics Canada, they publish two distinct types of microdata. A master file, which contains the original raw data, with each record denoting a person or an entity, with variables associated with that entity. Access to master data files is restricted because it contains sensitive and confidential information. Public use microdata files have records that are sampled from the master file, and the data has been anonymized and validated so that it can be used for research purposes, but it cannot be traced back to a specific individual. This is an excerpt from the public use microdata for the 2016 Census of Population. On the left is how the file looks when you download it. And on the right is how it looks when you import it into a spreadsheet program such as Excel. You can use a microdata set to run statistical analysis and/or to create your own aggregated data set. This is an example of an aggregate data set in which shelter costs are cross-tabulated with the type of housing, in this case, tenure. This data can then be transformed into charts to help communicate this information better, and to help the reader identify patterns in the data. The term disaggregated data is quite common in the social sciences and health sciences, especially as it applies to race-based data or other identity variables. Disaggregated data is broken down into component parts or smaller units of data for statistical analysis. For example, in the context of race-based data, this means breaking down the composite visible minority or racialized category into its component parts, such as Black, South Asian, East Asian, Southeast Asian, Latino, Middle Eastern, White, or others. In the 2021 federal budget, funding was allocated to Statistics Canada to implement the Disaggregated Data Action Plan. According to Statistics Canada, this funding will support more representative data collection methods, enhance statistics on diverse populations to allow for intersectional analyses, and support government and societal efforts to address known inequalities by bringing considerations of fairness and inclusion into decision-making. Let's now focus on data collection methods. In the social sciences and health sciences, there are two data collection techniques that are common. One is a census, and the other is a survey. A census collects information about every member of a population and has a lot of detailed and accurate information. A census is an expensive undertaking, and it takes a lot of time for statisticians to analyze and release data from a census. The most common census is a national census, which most countries conduct. In Canada, it's called the Census of Population and is conducted every 5 years. On the other hand, a survey collects information from a sample of the population. Conducting and analyzing a survey is cheaper and less time-consuming than a census, but the drawback is that a survey isn't as reliable or as accurate as a census. The Census of Population is conducted by Statistics Canada. The Census of Population is a statistical portrait of Canada and Canadians on one specific day, taken every 5 years. Each housing unit, or their household in Canada, is asked to fill out the census, which collects various information, such as demographic, social, and economic characteristics. These examples here provide you with an idea of the kind of sets of questionnaires in the census. The most recent census happened in May 2021, and the one before it in 2016. And so in May 2021, 100% of the households in Canada received a short form questionnaire. And what it asked for was your address, the date of birth of every individual living in the household, the gender or sex of every individual, the relationships of household members to each other, the knowledge of official languages and language you'll speak at home, as well as other languages that are spoken regularly, and your mother tongue. The long-form census questionnaire goes to 25% of households. The long form asks the same questions as the short form, but then it also asks more detailed questions about ethnicity, visible minorities, Indigenous peoples, education, housing, immigration, income, labor, how you get to work, knowledge of languages, mobility, and more. And this is the data that the government uses to make policy. It's what researchers in academia use to figure out patterns in the Canadian population for research purposes. And this is going to be the primary source for demographic data related to ethnic groups, racialized persons, and Indigenous peoples in Canada. Keep in mind it takes about a year for them to do all the number crunching and start delivering this information into different census data products. Most of the aggregate tables for the 2021 census have been released, but we're still waiting for some specialized aggregate tables, the public use microdata files, and the master files to be made available. A third common data collection technique is administrative data. Administrative data are information collected by government or private sector organizations as part of their ongoing operations. This type of data includes hospital discharge databases, birth and death databases, income tax databases, immigration databases, and more.